What's up, guys? So Konami have released a new Beckenbauer we can all get for free. You have to complete objectives and daily logins to get the spins for the pack, but we are all guaranteed to get every player in the pack as long as you log in enough times or complete all your objectives. You can see there 21 spins for logging in and 53 for completing objectives. I've completed 17 of them so far and I still haven't packed any of the players. But there's only 50 players in the pack, so even if you miss a couple of days, don't worry, you'll or miss a couple of objectives, you'll still be able to get the packs. So this is the build I went for Alphonso Davies. You can see he's actually got really good jumping, 85, which is actually surprising. So with 5 points in, I definitely get him the 85. He's obviously really fast, great balance, he's getting the +3 and then dribbling too. His defensive stats aren't the greatest, but I feel like if you level up his defensive stats, you're not going to get enough pace on him. And just because of how fast he is, he's pretty unique. So I would just level into the pace. So this is what his stats look like with the boost. Obviously, I've got Xabi Alonso, so there's +1 to acceleration. So what skills do you need? He probably needs interception to start. Soul control, just for the level 3 double touch, make them better at that. And because he's so attacking, you're going to want them getting forward. So I definitely would recommend, if you're using this guy, give him soul control for that. After that, he probably just needs a one-touch pass, true passing, and gamesmanship. Like I said, he's going to be going forward, so you need attacking stats. If you want, you could put maybe blocker on, but because he's out wide on left back, I feel like he's not going to block as many shots. And if anything, I wouldn't use him left back. I'd use him left mid, especially if you play 3 at the back. 3-5-2 would be a perfect wing back. Next player we'll look at is Beckenbauer. So I've got a couple builds. The first build is going to be for purely as a centre back. What you're thinking is, get all his defensive stats that are relevant above 90. Don't worry about the engagement. That's how well they track back. If he's a centre back, he shouldn't be out of position, so I wouldn't worry about the engagement. And give him a good bit of speed. The reason we're going for 6 though is just because you can get the kicking power up, which when you use his passing, it'll make him a really effective passer. And then he's actually got really good jumping if you look. So off the start, he's actually got 84 jump. So whatever build you do, you have to put at least 1 aerial strength in just to get the 85 and the +3 boost. But pure centre back build, that's what I'm going to do. There are a few other builds I have in mind, and one of them is for a specific tactic, which I'll show probably in another video. So this is the build I'm going to go for if I want to make Beckenbauer play kind of more what he was in real life, more comfortable on the ball. You can see I've given him at least 85 in low pass and lofted pass. I gave the 1 point into aerial, just get that 85 boost. Still have the Beckenbauer up. So it's pretty much the same build, except you just don't go as much in the aerial strength, and I think it's 1 less in dexterity, just to get the points you can put into passing and dribbling. So he'll be really good in this. So the tactic you're going to want to use him in is either as a DMF or a CMF, put a position trainer on him, or you can play a 5 at the back and put attack instruction on him. He'll move into midfield when you have the ball, but when you don't have the ball, he'll come back to centre back. That's a really good tactic I've used before with Rijkaard, so I'll be using it with Beckenbauer, see if he's successful with it too. Compared to the previous epic Beckenbauer, I definitely think the new one's a lot better. It's pretty similar stats overall, except the main difference is 75 aggression on the old Beckenbauer versus 90 on this one. That's a massive jump. This new Beckenbauer, I've seen a few people say they're not too impressed with him. I think he looks really good, so I definitely have no complaints about Beckenbauer. So the skills that need to go on Beckenbauer, he definitely needs aerial superiority, just because I recommended leveling the jumping. And even though his jumping stats are good, without the skill, he won't be that dominant in the air. But once you give it to him, he'll be amazing. Then I'd probably go 1-touch pass and true passing. Just make him, because he's got good passing stats. You kind of want to leverage that. Outside of that, he needs weighted pass, just because he's got low lofted pass already. It's a great combo. He'll be able to ping the passes around the pitch, switch it to your wingers. And then the last skill, you probably want to give him something that helps him when he's on the ball, because he'll be, especially if you use him in the tactic I recommend, where the tactics built around him, he'll be starting all your attacks. So if you can give him gamesmanship there, a cut behind and turn, a double touch, something like that, I think it'll be good. If you're going to use the tactic where he is attacking as a centre-back attacking instruction, I probably would go for gamesmanship or double touch, just because he will be moving forward, so the cut behind and turn won't be on as much. But if you start him DMF or CMF, it'll be good. I do think if I had to pick between CMF and DMF, I would probably go CMF, just because I think at DMF you kind of need the anchorman playstyle, whereas at CMF you can kind of get away with no playstyle a bit better. And he's actually got decent finishing, so if he goes forward, he might be able to score a couple goals. There was one more build I wanted to take a look at, and it was if we give him 85 tight possession. It still looks decent, but there is a few issues with the build. If you do that, you won't be able to get his passing up higher, unless you take off a lot of speed. But then the problem with that is if you take off the speed, you're going to get rid of the 85 kicking power, which is useful. So I did take off a bit of dexterity, but You don't have room for passing. Another thing is you could take off defending, and you know what, that probably is smart if you want to get the passing up, because then you can, or yeah, the dribbling up with the passing, because then you can put into passing, you get the boost. But the problem with that is defensive engagement doesn't get the +3 boost, and this build would be assuming you're playing them CMF, and that's when defensive engagement is going to be important again. So it's kind of a headache. Although defensive engagement at 86 isn't too bad, so you probably, yeah, I guess if you're playing centre mid, actually this build would be better. But just keep in mind that the defensive engagement isn't going to be as high as it should be, so there might be issues of him tracking back. But with those defensive stats, he'll be fine. Maybe if you do play him in the centre mid role, take off one of the skills and put on track back. Maybe take off the interception. No, sorry, not interception. I said one touch pass, true pass, weighted pass, aerials PR. Maybe take off the aerials priority if you're gonna play him centre mid, and put on track back instead. Okay, so this is the build I go for with Modric. It's actually a very well-rounded card. The defense, the stats are a bit lacking, but I wouldn't say it's much of an issue. He's definitely going to be an attacking-minded player. The kind of explanation of the build is he starts off with really high passing by default, so I'm just kind of working into that because he'd be kind of unique. There are not many players that level of passing, so I'm making the passing really high. You can see the lower body strength, 85 kicking power. You know, you might want to get that speed up at another point, which I can show you in a second build for that. But this is what I'd recommend. 95 dribbling, just because, I don't know, in my head, 95 looks a lot better. Just looks a lot nicer than 94, so that's why I'm going for 95. If you do want to get the pace up a little bit, you don't have to put that much passing in. If you leave the passing by default, he's got 90 low pass and 85 lofted. Now you would want to get passing up by 2 probably, just to get the lofted a bit higher. And then you can go into the lower body, but you're already putting 12 points in, so going to 13, it's a lot. So if you're not too concerned about the 80 threshold, you can do that, and then you can get the acceleration up a little bit. You won't be able to get it at 80, but that actually might not be an issue, because if you want him to be a pure orchestrator in the middle of the pitch, if you keep his offensive awareness below 80, he won't go forward as much. Now, if you want him to go forward, in my tactic video with the Xabi Alonso, what was it, 4-1-3-2 meta video, the orchestrator always overlaps, and Xabi scored a lot of goals, so you'd want the offensive awareness for that. But if you're using them in a more of a 4-3-3 where the overlap isn't as necessary, you wouldn't want to put as much into the offensive awareness. And then if he does get forward, he's got 70 finishing, kind of like the level at centre mid where he starts to be okay, but he's got good kicking power and curl to compensate for the lower finishing. Okay, Modric starts off with great skills. He doesn't need too much. I would say, first off, you might want to put soul control on for the knock-on finesses, or just knock on long shots. I've scored an amazing one with Showtime Modric, who I'll compare him to in a second. But if you do that, you're probably going to want to put long range curler on as well. So if you do decide to go for soul control or long range curler, I would only put one on if you're going to put the other on. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the skills. Outside of that, he could do a low lofted pass. He's already got the weighted, so let's complement them. Then a cut behind and turn or a Marseille turn to make him a little bit more equipped to escape pressure in the middle. Might also do with a fighting spirit, just so if you play him late in the game and you don't have available subs to take him off, you'll be a bit better, because his stamina isn't that great. It doesn't start off that well, and then in the build I had, his stamina went to 86. It doesn't matter, even if it was 99 though. I feel like stamina doesn't matter too much. They always run out of stamina regardless. If you want to use them a bit defensively, you could use track back, but I wouldn't recommend. I didn't level his defending in this build, and most of you might have this other version of Modric that has better defending, so I wouldn't put track back on this new one. Now, if you have the best, kind of one of the best player of the week cards that's ever come out, is this Modric here. He's amazing, and you can see his stats. He's got a lot better defending, and he does have interception. Now, he doesn't have track back, but he does have interception. So if you want your centre mid, if you're kind of picking between these Modric's, if you want him to be a bit more well-rounded and good in defence, I would probably stick with this World Cup one. If you want a Modric that can go forward better, probably the new one. If we actually take off the dribbling, kind of get to a similar level, and then level up the defending, you can see it still doesn't reach the, it doesn't even get close to the level that the Player of the Week one has. And compared to Showtime Modric, the Showtime Modric is better. The new one has slightly better technical stats, like +2 on tight possession, a bit more on passing, and curl. But this one, like the Player of the Week Modric, just has a lot better defending. So I'm not going to be using the new Modric in my team because I have the Showtime. But if I didn't have the Showtime, I don't have the Player of the Week, I actually probably would use Modric, rotate him in my squad based on the live update. Okay, last and arguably least, between him and Fonzie, I think, is Marcus Rashford. Although this Marcus Rashford's different. I think every other version of Rashford I've had has been a prolific winger, but this one's a goal poacher, so maybe that'll be good. Although with the way his card looks at the moment, I don't think he has certain stats that I would like in my centre forward. But we'll have him, look at him leveled up now. So this is the first build I have for Marcus Rashford. He does actually have good shooting pace, because if you look at the build, I've got the kick compared to 85, the finish to 85. Obviously the pace is above it already, defensive awareness is high, and the balance to 85. But look at his dribbling. I don't think that high balance is going to matter too much, but you kind of do need his dexterity up high. So I think this one's more just pure finishing. You know, he hopefully won't hold on to the ball too long. You're just kind of playing a 1-2 with him and trying to get on the end of it. But not the greatest build. If you want a more well-rounded one, I would probably take off the finishing and put it into dribbling. But the problem is, his dribbling is never going to get to a level that you can, be comfortable using. And if you take his finishing off, one of his best attributes is just shooting, so you're kind of making that worse. If you then decide, okay, instead of taking the finishing off, I'm going to take off the dexterity to get the finishing up to 85 still, and get the dribble, or 88, and then get the finish or dribbling high. But then you're taking off the balance, so now he's not getting the +3 boost to balance. So I don't think this Rashford's good at all, and that's been the case for every single Rashford that's came out in this game. I think even the big time Rashford isn't good. Okay, skills to put on Rashford, definitely put double touch and soul control on. It'll help him with level 3 double touch, and then his long range shots. Then I'd probably put long range curler on because he's got good kicking power, decent curl, but really good kicking power. And kicking power is more important for knock-on finesses than curl for some reason. After that, probably acrobatic finishing. He's not the greatest dribbler, so if you do beat a man, it won't be gracefully. It'll be kind of just using the pace, so you might be off balance or at a not great angle. So you'll definitely need acrobatic finishing. And if you can, get probably true passing on, one-touch pass, or aerial superiority, because he is quite tall. He's not got great jumping, but if you're lucky to come up against like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, if you have aerial superiority and your opponent doesn't, you might win the high balls up. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I'm hoping to get my hands on Beckenbauer soon. I'm really interested in him, and I want to try out that tactic that's kind of built around him. So if I do get my hands on that, I'll release that tactic video after a couple of days of getting it. So that's the end of the video. Bye.